Good morning. This is a Sunday school for September 20th, 2020, for Grace Baptist Church. I'm Stephen. I'm titling today's lesson, Joseph the Dreamer Reconciles Reality. The lectionary readings for today are Exodus 16, 2 through 15, Psalm 105, 1 through 6, 37 through 45, Psalm 145, 1 through 8, Jonah 3, 10 through 4, 11, Matthew 20, 1 through 16, and Philippians 1, 21 through 30. So the lectionary is already into Exodus, and we're staying with the story of Joseph. Our story so far. An upper-class kid living near Beersheba gets kidnapped by his brothers. He gets a clerical job and gets accused of sexual misconduct. He tries to better himself by interpreting dreams. He attracts the attention of the king. He becomes prime minister. He meets his brothers and does not trust them, while they don't recognize him. He tests his brothers and realizes that, well, things have changed. And that's where we ended the story last week. And so Judah, the current leader of the brothers, has just had a meltdown moment. He still does not recognize Joseph, but realizes that he and his whole family are completely in Joseph's power. Benjamin, the most junior brother of all, has been accused of criminal activity and found guilty. The consequences are severe. Judah offers to substitute himself instead of Benjamin for the punishment. That's when Joseph has his own meltdown. And that's where we start in today. Genesis 45, 1 through 46, 7 is what we're going to be reading. Then Joseph, he could not refrain himself before all of them that stood by him, his brothers and all the other people, and he cried, "Cause every man to go out from me." And there stood no man with him, while Joseph made himself known to his brothers. And he wept aloud. And the Egyptians and the house of Pharaoh heard. And Joseph said unto his brothers, "I am Joseph. Does my father still live?" And his brothers could not answer, for they were really weirded out by his presence. So the brothers still didn't get really who Joseph was. He says, "I'm your brother," but they just don't get it. That's what happens when you let appearances be your main source of decision making. Joseph wants a reconciliation with his brothers. He sends out the peripheral personnel who eavesdrop but can't understand the language, so it doesn't do them much good. Doesn't do his brothers much good either, because they are playing at being confused. So, verse 3 or 4. And Joseph said unto his brothers, "Come near to me, I pray you." And they came near. And he said, "I am Joseph your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. Now therefore be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves that ye sold me hither, for God did send me before you to preserve life. For these 2 years has the famine been in the land, and there are yet 5 years in which there shall neither be earing nor harvest. And God sent me before you to preserve you a posterity in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So now it was not you that sent me to this place, but it was God. And he hath made me like unto a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all of Pharaoh's house, and a ruler through all the land of Egypt." He doesn't exactly say he's happy with his experiences, but he does say it's a good thing they happened. He claims they are not even halfway through a very rough time. 3 more years of no earing. That means you're not going to be taking sheaves of grain from the fields. Nothing's going to grow. Hurry and go up to my father and say to him, this is what your son Joseph says. God has made me head honcho, Lord of all Egypt. Come down unto me. Don't wait. And you shall live in the land of Goshen, and you shall be near to me, you and your children and your children's children, and your flocks and your herds and everything that you have. Well, Joseph was in the process of appropriating almost all real estate in Egypt for the king. You can see Genesis 47:13 through 25 for that. Those details, I'm actually probably don't think I'm going to go into that much. But he settled his family in the best places. And there I will nourish you. I will make sure you have plenty. For yet there are 5 years of famine, lest you and your household and all that you have come to poverty. And behold, look, your eyes, and see the eyes of my brother Benjamin, that it is my mouth that speaks unto you. And ye shall tell my father of all my glory in Egypt, and of all that ye have seen, and ye shall hurry and bring down my father back to this place. And he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept upon his neck too. Moreover, he kissed all of his brothers and wept upon them, and after that his brethren talked with him. He's claiming his family. This is where he claims his family back. After all the years of betrayal, they're his family again. He's happy for this. The story does not say what they talked about right here, but I imagine they tied up a lot of loose ends. And the fame thereof was heard in Pharaoh's house, saying, Joseph's brothers are come. And it pleased Pharaoh well, and his servants. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, say unto your brothers, this you do, load your beasts, and go, get you into the land of Canaan, and take your father and your households, and come to me, and I will give you the good land of Egypt, and you shall eat the fat of the land. Well, which isn't saying a lot right now, because it's the time of famine, so the fat wasn't very fat. But now you are commanded. This is what you're going to do. You're going to take your wagons out of the land of Egypt for your little ones and for your wives, and you bring your father and come. And also, don't hang on to the stuff you got, for the good of all the land of Egypt is yours. And the children of Israel did so, and Joseph gave them wagons according to the commandment of Pharaoh, and gave them provision for the way. All of them. He gave each man changes of raiment. But to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of raiment. And he said to his father, he sent after this manner 10 donkeys laden with the good things of Egypt, and 10 she-donkeys laden with corn and bread and meat for his father by the way. Why so much? I don't know. But I guess they could sell the extra before they left Canaan. So he sent his brothers away, and they departed. And he said unto them, see that you don't fall out by the way. And they went out of Egypt and came into the land of Canaan, and Jacob their father, and told him, saying, Joseph, he's still alive, and he's governor of all the land of Egypt. And Jacob's heart fainted, for he believed them not. You know, he had heard bad news, bad things, and couldn't believe the good things now. And they told him all the words of Joseph, which he had said unto them. And when he saw the wagons which Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of Jacob their father revived, and Israel, who was another name for Jacob, said, it is enough. Joseph, my son, is alive. I will go and see him before I die. And so Israel took his journey with all that he had. He didn't leave stuff behind. And he came to Beersheba and offered sacrifices unto the God of his father Isaac. So Jacob has visions now. Why didn't he earlier when he was grieving over Joseph? Well, I don't know. But now that he's moving, he gets a vision. Perhaps it's just that he's doing something again. And God spoke unto Israel in the visions of the night and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, here I am. And he said, I am God. I am the God of your father. Don't be afraid to go down into Egypt, for I will make you there a great nation. I will go down with you into Egypt, and I will surely bring you up again. And Joseph, he is the one who's going to close your eyes when you die. And Jacob rose up from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried Jacob their father and their little ones and their wives in the wagons which Pharaoh had sent to carry them. And they took their cattle and their goods, which they had gotten in the land of Canaan, and came into Egypt, Jacob and all of his descendants with him, his sons, and his sons' sons with him, his daughters, and his sons' daughters, and all of his descendants he brought with him into Egypt. Now, Genesis 46, 8 through 26, talks about members of the caravan. The writers of Genesis only think it's important to talk about guys, and only non-slaves at that. So, there were 63 free guys moving to Egypt. One assumes kind of an equal number of free gals, and 1 to 5 servant class persons in the caravan, helpers, sheep herders, cowherds, that kind of thing. So there were at least 100, maybe several hundred persons in this caravan. It was a big group. We do only know the name of one of Jacob's daughters, and that was Dinah. Now, her brothers had been extremely unhappy at her first marriage, and it just didn't end well. It is unknown if she married again, but this passage talks about more than one daughter, and we don't know if those daughters had husbands. If they did, there's two things. Either they weren't considered important as being important enough to be listed, or maybe they were listed as sons of their fathers-in-law. That happens sometimes. You marry into the family, you become part of the family. And if you're a guy, you're a son. I don't know if that's the way it happened. I just think it's possible. Now, this is the end of my 8th lesson on Joseph, the dreamer. I will have at least one more lesson on this. It's a really important story. It takes up 12 chapters in the book of Genesis, with one thrown in for the story of Judah. Now, the main takeaway for us when we read about Joseph is that when we know we are right, we need to persevere, and we need to never give up faith in God. Now, we can lose all faith in our fellow persons, and indeed we can experience betrayal and seemingly unbearable loss. And like Joseph, we can be losers. Losers, but God is still at our side. With God, there is no loser. You may say, well, Joseph was important. Of course God was with him. Well, he did not always know that. When he was in prison, he had nothing. It wasn't important, at least not when he first got thrown in. Jesus said that God knows that each one of our hairs. God knows each and every one. God knows you, even if you don't know God. So, remember that.